Okay, so next reading is risk and return. So we will start with return, then we will go on to risk. So first, when we talk about return, there are different measures of return. With respect to bonds, one kind of return that we discussed was yield to maturity. But yield to maturity is we discussed is a kind of IRR or is an IRR, and it has some assumptions. So for example, one of the assumptions is that coupons are reinvested at the same rate as yield to maturity. Another assumption was that bond is held till maturity. So you do not sell it before maturity. Otherwise, there are capital gains and losses which need to be accounted for. And then, so these are the assumptions that coupons invested at YTM, bond is held till maturity, and so on. There were other assumptions as well. But in reality, maybe you end up selling bond earlier, or maybe interest rate changes due to which coupons are not reinvested at the same rate. And so your actual return or realized return might not be the same as the yield to maturity. And that return is known as horizon yield. Horizon yield is the yield that you make for a particular horizon of time for which you kept the bond. So horizon yield can be different from yield to maturity. These two will be same only if coupons are reinvested at YTM, bond is held till maturity, and interest rates do not change. If those assumptions hold, then these two will be same. Otherwise, if any of these assumptions do not hold, then horizon yield can be different from yield to maturity. And this is the actual return. That means if you are measuring return, what you should be looking at is the horizon yield or the actual return. This will take into account capital gain, capital losses, change in interest rate, and everything. This is how we measure return, or this is what is discussed in this reading. When we talk about risk, the key risk is the risk of change in price of the bond. And when we say change in price, why would the price change? Price changes due to changes in interest rate, either due to changes in interest rate or due to changes in YTM. So that means how do we analyze risk? One of the measures of analyzing risk is you measure percentage change in price with respect to change in yield of bond, or you measure it as percentage change in price with respect to change in interest rate, and this is known as duration. If I measure the change against the yield, that is known as yield duration, and the types are modified duration and Macaulay duration. And if I measure it against the changes in yield curve, which is interest rate or benchmark yield curve, then it is known as curve duration, and types are effective duration. This is how you measure the risk. And then there is another concept which is known as convexity, which we will discuss when we go into it. But broadly, this is how this reading is structured. This is how we discuss return and risk. Any problem so far? So we will start with return. What are the sources of return? We have already discussed this: coupon payment, principal payment, potential capital gains, and losses. These are the sources of return. What is interest rate risk? Interest rate risk is that due to change in interest rate, your return can change. Why would it change? Because if interest rate changes, price changes, and reinvestment return changes, because you now will be because now you will be reinvesting coupon at a different rate. So interest rate risk have two components: price risk and reinvestment risk. So one of them may be, so if let's say interest rate goes up, this will have, price will go down, but reinvestment will go up. So one of these would have a positive impact, another would have a negative impact, and overall impact will depend on the magnitude of these two impacts or the net effect. Horizon yield we have discussed that it is equal to YTM if two assumptions are held. Going to example. So in this example, the assumption is that interest rate goes up. The buy and hold investor purchases 10-year bond. Buy and hold means that he will buy and hold till maturity. 8% annual coupon bond at 85.5. After bond is purchased and before the first coupon is received, interest rate goes up to 11.4. If interest rate goes up, price will go down and reinvestment will increase. So what should be the return, or what will now be the return? So how much did he purchase it for? He purchased it for 85.503075. So this is the present value, or this is the investment which he has made. What will he be getting in future? So what is he getting in future? In future he will get coupons and par value. Par value will be received after 10 years. So that means if I have to make a timeline 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, then 10 on 10th year par value will be received. In addition, he will receive coupons, and coupons are 8%. 8% means $8 every year. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So in future, what is he receiving? 100 plus these $8. But when he receives this $8, he will reinvest it. So that means future value of this $8 will increase by the time you reach 10th year. Future value of this $8 will also increase. And at what rate will he reinvest it? He will reinvest it at 11.4%. So that means if I take future value of all these eights, so my payment is $8 for how many years? For a period of 10 years. And my yield is, or interest rate is 11.4%. PV is 0 and FV is, so if I calculate FV, the FV would be the future value of all the coupon payments. And how much is it? $136.38. So that means at the end of 10th year, he would have accumulated 136.38 due to coupons. That is the future value of coupon, plus he will receive this 100. So that means at the end of 10th year, he will receive a total of 136.38 plus 100, which is 236.38. So that means today he invests 85.5. In future, he will receive 236.38. So what is his total return? His present value is 85.503075. In future, he is receiving 236.38. So if I just calculate the R, payment 0 and R as being calculated, the answer should be 10.7%. What does it come out to be? 10.7%. So that means he invests 85.5 today, and at the end of 10th year, he would have accumulated 236.38, which is a 10.7% annual return. So if you look into it, his actual return that he is making is 10.7%. Yield would be different. So what was yield? Yield would have been price, which is present value. So in this case, I think it's 100 and payment 8. Is it same or is it different? 10.7%. 10.7%. 10.7%. 10.7%. 10.7%. 10.7%. 10.7%. 10.7%. 10.7%. 10.7%. 10.7%. 10.7%. 10.7%. 10.7%. 10.7%. 10.7%. 10.7%. 10.7%. 10.7%. 10.7%. 10.7%. 10.7%. 10.7%. 10.7%. 10.7%. 10.7%. 10.7%. 10.7%. 10.7%. 10.7%. 10.7%. 10.7%. 10.7%. 10.7%. 10.7%. 10.7%. 10.7%. 10.7%. 10.7%. 10.7%. 10.7%. 10.7%. 10.7%. 10.7%. 10.7%. 10.7%. 10.7%. 10.7%. 10.7%. 10.7%. 10.7%. 10.7%. 10.7%. 10.7%. 10.7%. 10.7%. 10.7%. 10.7%. 10.7%. 10.7%. 10.7%. 10.7%. 10.7%. N is 10. So I think it should be same. 10.399. So when this bond was issued, the yield was 10.399% on this bond. But later interest rate went up. So interest rate went up to 11.4%. And so as interest rate increased, you ended up making a higher actual return. Why? Because your reinvestment actually increased, or reinvestment income actually increased. When you calculate this yield, it assumes that coupon will be reinvested at 10.399. But in reality, coupon is being reinvested at 11.4%. So that's why your actual is different from your yield. Any problem so far? It can come out to be higher or lower. It depends on the impact. Interest rate goes down. The second investor buys the 10-year bond, same bond, and sells it in 4 years. Now he is not keeping it for 10 years, he is selling it in 4 years. So present value investment today is 85.503075. After the bond is purchased, interest rate goes down to 9.4%. Future value of reinvested coupon. So this is a 10-year bond. He is selling it in 4 year. So if he is selling it in fourth year, at the end of fourth year, he would have accumulated some coupons. So coupon payment for in these 4 years will be 8, 8, 8 and 8. So first you calculate the total amount of coupons at this particular period of time, fourth year. So they have told you after the bond is purchased, interest rate go down to 9.4. That means all these will be reinvested at 9.4. So your payment is 8. So this is how you can calculate the future value of these 4 payments. And when you, what is the answer when you calculate what is the future value of this 8 at year 4? 36.8. So that means here he has accumulated 36.8. So that means at the end of fourth year he would have accumulated 36.8 in coupon. Second source of cash flow will be by selling the bond. And when he sells the bond, he will receive the price. So you need to know that what is the price at the end of fourth year. So in order to calculate the price at the end of fourth year, what is the price? Price is the present value of all the remaining cash flows. So that means price will be the present value of all the remaining cash flows. So what are the remaining cash flows? Payment continues to be 8. For how many years? For 6 years, because it is a 10-year bond. 4 years have passed, 6 are remaining. Future value at the end you will receive 100. IY it is given to you as 9.4%, and you have to find out the present value. And if you find out the present value, what does it come out to be? 93.79. So that means at the end of fourth year you receive this 36.8 and you also receive 93.79 by selling the bond. So total amount which you receive at the end of fourth year will be the sum of these two. And what does it come out to be? 93.79 plus 36.8. $130.59. So that means at the end of fourth year you will receive 130.59 of total. Any problem, confusion so far? And you invested 85.5. So what is the rate of return? So you invested 85.503 and you accumulated 130.59, and so your rate of return can be found using the present value and future value. and it will come out. What's the answer? 11.168, which is 11.17%. So that means actual return which you made in 4 years is 11.17%. When you issued the bond, your yield was, we calculated it in previous example, it was 10.3% or 10.4%. The actual return that you have made by selling in 4 years is 11.17%. Why? Because interest rates drop, and as interest rate drop, price increase, and as price increase, you made up a higher actual return. So actual return can be different from yield. Any problem, confusion? So this is similar example. An investor buys a 4-year 10% annual coupon bond priced to yield 5%. The investor plans to sell the bond in 2 years. So 1, 2, 3, 4. After second coupon payment is received, calculate the purchase price of the bond and the horizon yield, assuming that the coupon investment rate after the bond purchase and the yield to maturity at the time of sale are. So in order to calculate today's price, simply what you do is you use the yield to maturity. So you know that future value is 100. You know coupon is 10%, which is $10. You know it is a 4-year bond. You know that yield is 5%, and through this you can find out present value. So the price as of today would, what is the price as of today? If you plug in these numbers and calculate, 117.729 is the price. So that means today you have bought it for 117.729. Now at the end of second year you will sell it. If you sell it at the end of second year, what do? You calculate future value of coupons at second year. You calculate price at the end of second year, and price at the end of second year will be present value of remaining cash flows, and you add them up. That will be total future value. You take total future value and you take value at which you bought the bond, and that will give you the rate of return for these 2 years, and that actual return is known as horizon yield. So when you take when you calculate future value, it comes out to be coupon, it comes out to be 20.3. When you calculate sale price, that is the present value of remaining cash flows, it come out to be 113.39, because they have told you that now rates are 3%. So you reinvested at 3% and you discounted at 3%. If you sum them up, it will be 133.69. So future value is 133.69. You bought it for 117, and so it comes out to be 6.56%. So at the time when you bought it, your yield was 5%, but actual return in selling on 2 years is 6.5. Why? Because interest rate dropped, and as interest rate dropped, price went up, and as price went up, you ended up making a higher return. Any question, confusion so far? So interest rate have 2 impacts. One is on price and other is on reinvestment. It will depend which one is being actually impacted more. If this impact is higher, then overall relationship will be direct. If this impact is higher, then overall relationship will be inverse between return and the rate. Future value of coupons. So you have a coupon here at first year, which is 10. Then you have it here. You are selling bond at the end of second year. So this is the future value of these two, 10. So you take this 10 forward. It will be 10 into 1.03 plus this 10. This will be 20.3. There's 10.3 plus 10 will be 20.3. Future value of coupon. Any confusion, problem? Okay, so if you are selling before maturity or till maturity or whatever, in all the cases your actual return can be different from yield, and this is how you calculate it. Moving on to risk, we discussed that there are, how do we measure risk? We measure risk by change in return. And how does return change? One of the key change comes in from change in price. And how do we measure it? So percentage change in price to change in yield or change in interest is known as duration. This is known as yield duration, and this is known as curve duration. If you compare the percentage change in price with yield curve, it is known as curve duration. If you compare it with the yield of the bond itself, then it is known as yield duration. And types are modified and effective are examples. Now let's go into details of it. So we discussed what is yield, what is curve. Within yield duration, different types of durations include Macaulay, modified, money, price value of basis point. And within curve duration, one of the examples is effective duration. What is Macaulay duration? So remember, Macaulay duration takes a kind of weighted average time to receive. So what it do is that it finds out that how much time is remaining to the cash flow. 1 year, 2 year, 3 year. So when would a cash flow be received? Will it be received after 1 year? Will it be received after 2 year, 3 year, or whatever? Based on that, it finds out the duration. And so if let's say I tell you there is a zero coupon bond. So in zero coupon bond, there is only one cash flow, right? If there is only one cash flow, then the time to receiving that cash flow becomes the Macaulay duration. So for zero coupon bond, its maturity is the duration. So remember, for zero coupon bond, maturity is the duration. So if it is a 30-year zero coupon bond, its duration is 30. If it is a 10-year zero coupon bond, its duration is 10. 15-year, it's 15. This is Macaulay duration. What is modified? What modified duration do is modified duration adjusts Macaulay duration a bit. That is, it divides Macaulay duration by 1 plus yield or 1 plus R. So if you take Macaulay duration and if you divide it by 1 plus R, you get modified duration. I don't think you need to memorize this formula. We will just do an example of learning how is it calculated, and I think that should be enough. But this formula is important. So remember this formula, that is modified duration is Macaulay duration divided by 1 plus R. If you have modified, you should be able to convert it into Macaulay. If you have Macaulay, you should be able to convert it into modified form. R is the yield to maturity, yield for that particular bond. So it will become clear as we do an example. Where is the example? Anyway. Okay, so if you have for example, if you have a Macaulay duration of 7.0029, and if you are told that yield is 10.4%, then it will be 7.0029 divided by 1.1040. How do you calculate yield? I do not need to tell you, you already know it, that how do you calculate yield? How? If you know the present value, if you know the future value, if you have the number of years, you should be able to calculate that. So modified duration provides a linear estimate of price change. What does it mean? So in reality, the price change is a curve. So if I plot price against yield, it is a curve, as we discussed earlier, that it is not linear change. And we had also discussed that, so that's why if interest rate decreases, percentage price change is higher. If it increases, it is lower. But what modified duration do is that it assumes a straight line. So it tells you a linear relationship. So if you calculate modified duration here, it will assume a tangent here and calculate it based on this linear relationship. So it tends to ignore this gap. This gap is actually ignored in calculation for duration. How do you calculate it? This formula is very important. Make sure you remember it. Approximate modified duration is PV minus PV plus divided by 2 into change in yield into PV 0. What do we mean by this? Let's say there is a bond which has a price of $90. Now I say that either yield can go up or go down. If I say that yield goes up, and if it goes up, if yield goes up, price will go down. So yield goes up and price goes down. And if it goes down, you can calculate it. You can just plug in the yield, you know coupon rate, you know future value, you know all the values, you can calculate its price. When you calculate price, it comes out to be $85. Another scenario can be that yield goes up, yield goes down. If yield goes down, price goes up. Again, you plug in this yield, everything else remains the same. When you calculate price, it comes out to be 95. So you know what will be the higher price, you know what will be the lower price. So what you do is you take higher minus lower. This is known as PV plus. This is PV plus, and this will be PV minus. And you divide it by the 2 into change in yield into PV0. PV0 is this one. Your final answer should be negative. Why negative? Because yield and price have inverse relationship. If one goes up, other goes down. So when you take PV minus PV plus, you will have a positive number here, but your change in yield will be negative. The difference which you take from lower minus higher will be negative. So overall answer should be negative. Why? Because if yield increases, price decreases. If yield decreases, price increases. Remember this formula. I think this is very, very important. Now the question is that what is this? This is approximate modified duration. Now question is, what is it telling you? It telling you how much will price change if yield changes. But is it telling you the actual change in price in dollar terms? No. It is telling you the percentage change in price. That in percentage terms, how much will it change if yield change by 1% or 1 point. So how do you, if I want to calculate it in dollar terms, what will I do? I take this percentage, I take percentage change in price, which is approximate modified duration, and I multiply it with the value of the bond. So if I take this percentage change in price and I multiply it with the value, so that means if I multiply duration with the value, it will give me an answer in dollar terms, or it will give me change in price in dollar terms. This is known as money duration or dollar duration. What does it mean? It is again giving you duration, but not in percentage terms, but in monetary terms or in absolute terms. So if you convert it from percentage to value, then it is known as money duration. So money duration is nothing but just the conversion from percentage to value terms. Sorry, value will be your current present value, PV0. So that will be your money duration. Now if you want to calculate overall percentage change in present value, that how much has it changed, what does duration tell you? Duration tell you how much will it change with 1 point change in yield. So if I tell you yield changes by 3%, how much will the price change? So simply you multiply 3% by the duration. So this is change for 1% change. If total yield is changing by 3%, you multiply it by 3%. So if I tell you that whenever yield changes by 1%, whenever yield changes by 1%, price changes by 2%, or let's say 0.5%. Now I ask you that yield is changing by 4%, how much will price change? It will simply be 0.5 into 4. Total price change will be 2%. So simply if you multiply modified duration by change in yield, that will give you the change in overall price. Any problem so far? So far we are comparing price change with the change in yield. If I remove this change in yield and replace it by change in curve, By curve, I mean benchmark yield curve. I mean interest rate, benchmark interest rate. Then that will be known as effective duration. And remember, this effective duration is appropriate in case of bonds with embedded option. Why? Because value of embedded option changes if interest rate change. So that's why effective duration is better to be used in that scenario. These are simple durations. If there is another terminology which is credit duration. What is credit duration? Instead of comparing to yield or interest rate, if I compare it to credit spread, that how much does the price change if credit spread changes, then that will be known as credit duration. So remember, this word duration actually is used for percentage change in price. If it is effective duration, it is percentage change in price with respect to change in benchmark interest rate. If it is modified or Macaulay duration, it is percentage change in price with respect to change in yield of the bond itself, and that is again an estimate. If it is percentage change in price with respect to credit spread, then it is known as credit duration. But credit duration is not a very you wouldn't see it being used often. Generally, conversation will be around effective or modified duration. So remember, for effective duration, again you will use same formula. Only difference will be this yield will be replaced with change in benchmark interest rate. Macaulay can be for any bond portfolio. How it calculates is that it will take cash flow, any cash flow happening, then how much is the time to that particular cash flow happening, and then it will take a kind of weighted average of all the cash flows with respect to their timing, and based on that it comes up with the duration. And that is known as, if that methodology is used to arrive at the duration, that is known as Macaulay duration. But that is a difficult to use, that has a lot of working and lot of operational working, and so it is difficult to use in practice. It will be there. There is one example which we'll do here, but this is very basic example just to explain you how we calculate it. That will come in shortly. Macaulay duration between coupon bonds with a constant yield trajectory. So just try remembering these graphs. I think these graphs are important. So remember, Macaulay duration will increase as you reach the coupon payment. Once the coupon has been paid, then it will reset to a lower value. Why? Because now time to remaining to this coupon has become 0, and for next coupon the time remaining is very long. As you continue to reach towards or nearer to time, it will continue to increase and then again reset. Why? Because timing or the time to receipt of a coupon payment is an important factor in Macaulay duration. So this is how it will move with time to maturity. This graph I think is important. That is, for zero coupon bond with respect to time to maturity, it is a straight line. Duration is a straight line. For discount bond, it is a bit lower and it is a curve like this. For premium bond, it is this and like this, and for perpetuity it is a flat line. Key point to remember I think is that if you see this graph and if you are asked which one of these is A, B, C or whatever, which one of these is a discount bond or which one of these is a zero coupon or premium bond, you should be able to answer that. As long as you are able to do that, I think you should be able to do what you are asked for. This graph is very important. You should know it conceptually as well as should remember it. So we discussed that generally how is the price curve, how do we make the price curve? It is something like this. Any confusion so far in this price curve? Let's say this is a normal bond or a straight bond, non-callable bond. If it is a callable bond, so what is the price of callable bond? We have discussed it earlier as well, that price of a callable bond is lower compared to straight bond due to call option value. Why? Because as there is an additional option to the issuer, investor will pay a lower price, and the difference is call option value. So that means it has always to be lower by the amount of call option. When will this call option has value? This call option has value when interest rate goes down. Correct? It is exercised when interest rate goes down. If they are high, this call option value will be lower. So if I go towards higher interest rate area, that is this one, call option will have very low value. As it has very low value, callable bond price will be near to non-callable bond price. The gap will be very low. Why? Because the gap is the call option value. But it will always be lower or same. Now as the interest, as I continue to go to left side, that is interest rate continues to decrease, at a point call option will come into money. Means call option value will start increasing. And below that point or on the left hand side of that point, this distance will start increasing. Why? Because call option value is increasing. And so if you make a graph of callable bond, it will be something like this. And this gap will be higher towards or wider towards lower interest rate. This gap will be negligible towards high interest rate. Why? Because this gap is the value of call option, which is here almost zero, but here it is in the money and so it is higher. Any problem in this? So graph will get flatter for callable bond. This will be wider. Why? Because if interest rate is lower, there are more chances of call option being exercised. That means call option has higher value. So what is the price? Price of callable bond is equals to price of straight bond minus call option value. If this call option has high value, which is this case, then this price will be lower. So if you look into it, this price is lower compared to a straight bond. Towards lower. So if you move towards lower interest rate, the callable bond graph will continue to get flatter. So in this case, change in interest rate will have a very small change in price. So generally what happens if interest rate goes down, price increases. So you have a callable bond. In callable bond, you have a straight bond and call option value. If interest rate goes down, price will increase. But if interest rate goes down, call option value will also increase. So this increase, let's say it increases by 100, it will be offset by increase in call option value, and net impact will be, let's say, 20, as you see here. So that means duration will become lower towards the change in price will become lower towards the lower interest rate side. Why? Because this increase in price is being offset by the increase in call option value. Any problem? So decrease in interest rate will lead to increase in price due to price of bond, but it will lead to decrease in price due to call option value. And so net impact will be lower and graph will get flatter. That means even if interest rate is decreasing, impact on price will be very low. Why? Because there is a call option embedded into it. Any problem? And opposite of this will happen with puttable bond. In puttable bond, price is higher. Why higher? Because investor has additional option. When does this option come into money? It comes into money when interest rate increase. So this distance will widen if interest rate increases. So curve will get flatter if interest rate increases. In this portion, duration will almost be similar to straight bond, but here duration will get lower compared to straight bond. Why? Because price wouldn't change even if yield changes for increase in interest rate. So remember these laws. Coming to duration of a bond portfolio. So this is an example of calculating Macaulay duration. So you have two bonds, X and Y. 1 year maturity, 30-year maturity, price, these are zero coupon bonds. This is the weight. And you have to calculate Macaulay duration. How do you calculate Macaulay duration? So this is the formula. What does it formula say, or what does it mean? Simply you take a weighted average, kind of a weighted average for duration. How do you do this? So first thing that you do is you calculate a yield for this whole portfolio. What is yield? Yield is IRR. How do you calculate IRR? You know that at first year you will have a inflow of 10 million. At second year, at 30th year, you will have an inflow of 100 million. Today you have invested 9.8 into 2, that is 2 9.8, so 9.8 plus 9.8. So if you calculate its IRR using cash flow register, calculate the IRR, what does it come out to be? So you have an inflow of 9.8 into 2, that is outflow at the start. Then first cash flow happens in first year, which is 10 million. Then no cash flow happens for next 28 years. And third cash flow happens in 30th year, which is 100 million. So try calculating it so that you know how is it being calculated. So calculate IRR using your calculator. So today you are buying something, buying a bond. When you buy a bond, it is a cash outflow. How much is the outflow? How do you buy it? You buy it by paying the price. So what is the price? Price is the market value. So you buy this, so outflow is 9.8. Then you buy second one, so outflow is 9.8. So today you are having an outflow of 9.8 and 9.8. So you can total it. Then on first year, first bond matures. When first bond matures, it pays you the par value. Par value is 10 million. So here you get an inflow of 10 million. Then second year, no cash flow. Third year, no cash flow, and you reach to 30th. At 30th year, you have an inflow of 100 million. So 100 million inflow. So today you have this outflow, then first year this inflow, 30th year this inflow. What is the IRR on this example? कैलकुलेटर से करें IRR कैश फ्लो रजिस्टर से. So cash flow 0 is 19.6 minus cash flow 1 is 10, cash flow 2 is, what is it? 0. There is no cash flow. So cash flow 2 is 0. Then 3, 4, 5 all are 0 till 29. That means frequency is 28. So 28 times 0. So this is 0, this is 0, and it remains be 0 for 28 times. So frequency is 28. Then after that, third cash flow is, or last cash flow is 100. So 30th would be, so in your calculator you have input 10 million in first, 0 in second, then you set the frequency as 28. Now after 28 frequency, when you move to next cash flow, which is C03, that is actually the 30th cash flow. So you plug it in as 100. And then you calculate IRR 7.86. %7.86% is your IRR. Any confusion in this? So that means in this portfolio your yield is 7.86%. How do you calculate Macaulay duration? So you take first bond. In first bond, the time to maturity is 1 year. So you take 1. How much cash will you receive after 1 year? 10 million. You multiply it by 10. And you divide it by 1 plus r to the power 1. Why? Because this will give you the present value of this 10 million of duration. then plus next cash flow happens after 30th year, so 30 multiplied by how much is the cash flow? 100 million, 100 divided by 1 plus r to the power 30. Then you sum them up and then you divide it by 10 million present value plus present value of 100 million. And when you do this, you get Macaulay duration, which is 16.2825. So this is how you calculate Macaulay duration. Once you have Macaulay duration, you can convert it into modified duration using the formula, that is Macaulay duration divided by 1 plus r. This is 15.0958. This is one way of doing it. That is, you take weighted average of time to receipt of the cash flows. But this is difficult to use in practice. Another way is that instead of doing this, you can take first one's duration, you take second one's duration, and you take the weighted average. So I know 1 year bond has a duration of 1. I know 30-year bond has a duration of 30. And both are 50-50%. So 1 into 50% plus 30 into 50%. This will give me a duration of 15.5. So these are two methods and both will give you a bit of different duration. So here it is different, here it is different. If you calculate modified duration here, you convert it using divide by 1 plus r. If you use this method, then you convert both the durations separately and then take weighted average. So 1 divided by 1.078611, this is modified duration for this bond, multiplied by 50% plus 30 divided by 1.07861. This is modified duration for this bond, multiplied by 50%. So these are two methods. Either you use this first method or you use this second method. If you use second method, answers will be a bit different. Any problem? So this formula is very important, and in addition, remember this as well. And another key point to remember is that Macaulay duration of a zero coupon bond is the time to maturity. Whatever is the time to maturity, that is the duration of zero coupon bond. These are advantages, limitations, which you can go through later. So we discuss money duration. In money duration, we discuss what is money duration. Money duration is simply duration in monetary terms or absolute terms. How do you get it? You multiply annual modified duration you multiply the modified duration by present value to arrive at the money duration. Now within money duration, what will money duration tell you? It will tell you how much will value change if yield changes by 1%. Now if I tell you that, tell me how much will value change if yield change by 1 bp. If yield changes by 1 bp, how much will value change? That is known as price value of a basis point, PVBP. PVBP means that how much will value change in monetary terms if yield changes by 1 bp. So this is PVBP. So all these concepts are interlinked. As long as you know the base concept, you should be able to do all others. I don't think you need to remember formulas. As long as you know the concept, you know money duration is duration multiplied by value. How do you convert percentage into absolute form? You simply multiply percentage by the dollar value, and that becomes absolute form, and that is the money duration. If you know that how much will value change in percentage terms used by 1 bp change in yield, you can convert it into value term again. So I don't think there is anything. Price value of basis point. How do you calculate it? So what you do is you assume that yield increases by 1 bp. When yield increases by 1 bp, there will be certain price which you will have. Then you assume that yield decreases by 1 bp. When it decreases by 1 bp, you calculate price and there will be certain price which you have. Let's say this is 90 and this is 92. If yield decreases, it goes up. If yield increases, it goes down. So what is price value of basis point? It can be average of these two. 90, 92 minus 90 divided by 2. So this one will be your price value of basis point. Money duration is simply change in price with respect to change in yield. If yield changes, how much does the price change? That is money duration. How much does the price change in absolute value, in currency value, in dollar value? That is money duration. So if I tell you that if yield changes, how much will price change? You can quote it in two terms. Either you quote how much will price change in percentage terms, or you say that how much will price change in dollar terms. So if you are saying telling this is duration. If you are telling this is money duration. So we discussed that duration takes a linear form. So that means it ignores this distance. So how do you capture this distance? This distance can be captured or calculated using another measure which is known as convexity. So this distance is captured using convexity. How do you calculate convexity? For convexity, this is the formula. V minus plus V plus minus 2V naught divided by change in yield to maturity square into V naught. What is V minus? So if you increase yield, price will go down. This is V minus. If you decrease yield, price will go up. This is V plus. So you add both of them. Minus 2 into current price divided by change in yield to maturity squared into V naught. This is approximate convexity. And if you have to measure percentage change in price, then percentage change in price will have two components. One due to this line, that is this change in price, and second due to this convexity. So this change which is below linear line is captured in modified duration into change in yield, and this additional change due to convexity is captured in convexity. Half into annualized convexity into change in yield squared. So this is how you calculate total change in price. If you have to calculate this total change in price, one of the components will be due to duration, which is this straight line, and another component will be due to convexity, which can be calculated using this formula. Any problem, confusion? So again, remember or memorize these formulas. This is important. Second, another key point to remember is that duration is known as first order effect. Why first order? Because this is the first change, first order, and convexity is known as second order effect. It is this change. So remember first order effect and second order effect. Effective convexity, same formula as this one, only difference is here you have change in yield to maturity. If it is effective, then you use change in curve. By curve it means benchmark yield curve or benchmark interest rate. So this will be replaced by curve. That is the only difference. Other rest of the formula remains the same. Sorry. Value, present value of price. So that is the only difference. Here is an example. The modified duration and convexity statistics are this. Calculate estimated price change for each bond. So what will be the price change? Price change will be due to duration and due to convexity. So duration is, for example, for bond A it is 3.72. So price change will be 3.72 multiplied by change in yield. So this is 25 bips. 25 bips means 0.25%, and 0.25% means 0.0025 decimal. So 0.0025 into 3.72 plus, this is due to duration. Due to convexity would be half into convexity into YTM squared. So this is 25 bips squared, and this will give you the total change in price. That is, price changes by minus 0.9262 percentage if yield changes by 25 bips. If yield changes 0.25%, price changes by 0.9262%. These 3 points are something that you will have to, I should memorize. This is again very important. So a lot of stuff what you see in this reading would be something that you need to learn, memorize, and remember. So we discussed at the start that if interest rate changes, it has two impacts. If, for example, it goes up, price goes down, reinvestment income goes up. Or if it goes down, price goes up, reinvestment income goes down. So how do you decide which one is higher and which one is lower, or which one has higher impact, which one has lower impact? What is the net impact? So in order to decide net impact, you need to know two things. You need to know Macaulay duration, and you need to know investment horizon. You compare these two in order to arrive at this answer for net effect. How? So remember, when investment horizon is greater than Macaulay duration. So if you are investing for a longer period than Macaulay duration, if investment horizon is higher than Macaulay duration, this means you are more exposed to reinvesting your income. If you are holding for a longer period, that means you are more exposed to holding and reinvesting your income. In that case, this impact will be higher. Reinvestment risk will dominate. If investment horizon is greater than duration, reinvestment risk will dominate. The market price risk. When investment horizon is equal, when these two are equal, then both impacts are equal. That is, market price risk is equal to reinvestment risk. And if investment horizon is less than Macaulay duration, then market price risk will dominate. Any problem with this? These three items? Okay, so what does it mean? It means that if investment horizon is greater than duration, and if interest rate goes up, price goes down, and reinvestment income goes up. Or interest rate goes down and price goes up and reinvestment income goes down. So if you have the first scenario, which is investment horizon is greater than duration, in that case, if interest rate goes up, this goes up, this goes down, net impact of this one will be higher. Why? Because reinvestment risk dominates. And so in first scenario, if interest rate goes up, overall impact will be an increase in first scenario. And if interest rate goes down, overall impact will be a decrease in first scenario. Why? Because reinvestment risk will dominate, and reinvestment income is decreasing. So in first scenario, your risk is towards decrease in interest rate. If interest rate decreases, you lose out. If interest rate increases, you benefit. So your risk is towards decrease in interest rate. In second scenario, market price risk dominates. If market price risk dominates, that means if interest rate increases, price decreases, and so your return will decrease. And here if interest rate decreases, price increases, and so your return will increase. So your risk is that interest rate can increase. And in second scenario, no change. The market price risk will offset the reinvestment risk. Any problem so far? This is third one. In second one, there is no change because both are same. So one will increase, other will decrease, both will offset each other. In third one, your risk is towards the increase in interest rate. Why? Because market price risk dominate. So your risk is if interest rate increases, market price will decrease and so return will decrease. In first one, your risk is towards lower interest rate. That is if interest rate decreases, the reinvestment income will decrease and your return will decrease. So net impact will depend on Macaulay duration and horizon, investment horizon. Any problem? So there are too many details which you will have to memorize or remember. And what is this difference? This difference is known as duration gap. This difference between investment horizon and duration is known as duration gap. Difference between Macaulay duration and investment horizon is called duration gap. It is Macaulay duration minus investment horizon. If it is positive, that means Macaulay duration is higher. If it is negative, that means Macaulay duration is lower. Any question? Duration gap. Macaulay duration minus investment horizon. So if Macaulay duration is higher, in this case duration gap will be positive. In this case duration gap will be negative, and in this case duration gap will be 0. Sorry? RR? ये किधर लिखा है? ये वाला R? ये this is interest rate decreasing or increasing. So here your risk is that interest rate will decrease. Why? Because you will lose out if interest rate decreases. If interest rate increases, you will gain here. Here your risk is interest rate will increase because you lose out when interest rate increases. If it decreases, you gain. This is again, you can go through. This is just repetition of theory. Let's do questions. Assuming no change in the credit risk of a bond, presence of an embedded put option reduces the effective duration, increases the effective duration, does not change the effective duration. So this is something that we had discussed earlier, that if you have an embedded option, it will make the graph flatter. As it makes the graph flatter, the percentage price change will be lower. As percentage price change is lower, duration will be lower. So embedded option will reduce the effective duration of the bond. Second order effect of change in price given a change in yield to maturity can be best described as, so first order is duration and second order is convexity. So B should be the answer. The holding period for a bond at which the coupon reinvestment risk offset the market risk. So we discussed there is market price risk, there is reinvestment income risk. And we discussed either this will be higher or this will be higher. And we discussed that these two will become equal at a point where Macaulay duration becomes equal to investment horizon, or in other words where duration gap becomes 0. At which coupon reinvestment risk offsets the market risk is best approximated by holding period for a. So how much should the holding period be? It should be the same as Macaulay duration. So C should be your answer. C. Duration gap is the difference, not the answer. When investors' investment horizon is less than Macaulay duration of the bond she owns, so investment horizon less than Macaulay duration. If investment horizon is less, that means you are holding for shorter period. So shorter period. If you are holding for shorter period, that means reinvestment is not much of a concern because you wouldn't be reinvesting anyway. Uh, and if reinvestment is not of a concern, that means market price risk will dominate. And so this means that it will have a more higher impact. And when does market price decrease? Market price decreases if interest rate goes up. So that means your risk is that interest rate can go up. So the investor is hedged against interest rate risk, reinvestment risk dominates, market price risk dominates, and investor has a risk of higher rates, which is C. Any problem in this question or question in these questions or topic? Let's take a break.